Don Harris and his heterochromic wife, Alice, are holed up in a remote countryside cottage in England during the initial outbreak of the rage virus. They share the space with 4 other survivors: the elderly Jeff and Sally, the cold and calculating Jacob, and the vulnerable Karen, whose boyfriend abandoned her in the chaos. The couple's 2 young children are safe, having escaped Britain on a school trip before the outbreak. As the group sits down to a tense dinner, the fragile quiet is shattered by frantic banging on the door. A young boy begs to be let inside. Reluctantly, Don allows him entry. Over a meal, the boy recounts his escape from the nearby town of Sanford, fleeing from his infected parents and a relentless horde of the infected. Before the group can fully process his words, the cottage comes under siege. The infected, drawn by the boy, launch a brutal assault. In the chaos, Karen is attacked and infected. With no choice, Don kills her to protect the others. The group fractures as the infected breach the cottage. Don holds the attackers off briefly while the others attempt to escape. Alice flees upstairs with the boy, while Jeff, Sally, and Jacob retreat toward the barn. Jeff stays behind to hold off the infected, sacrificing himself. Sally is overwhelmed moments later. Jacob narrowly escapes through a barn window, leaving carnage behind him. Upstairs, Alice and the boy are cornered. Desperate to save her, Don urges Alice to flee. She refuses to abandon the terrified child. Faced with the impending onslaught, Don makes a fateful decision. He abandons them both. As the infected pour into the room, Alice's screams echo through the house. Don flees across the farmland toward the river dock, pursued by the infected. There, Jacob is attempting to escape via a motorboat. Don reaches the boat and starts the engine. But when Jacob falls into the river, the infected follow him. Without hesitation, Don uses the motorboat's propeller to kill Jacob, ensuring his own escape. He speeds downriver, leaving the horrors behind as the sole survivor. 28 weeks later, the rage virus has burned itself out as the infected succumb to starvation. A US-led NATO force begins repatriating survivors to Britain, establishing a fortified zone in London known as District 1. Don, now the caretaker of District 1, lives in relative comfort as part of the military-controlled operation. Among the newly repatriated are Don's children, Tammy and Andy. Their arrival surprises the military's chief medical officer, Scarlett Levy, who is concerned about the risk of allowing children into the zone. During their medical inspection, Scarlett notes that Andy shares his mother's heterochromia, a reminder of Alice's absence. Reunited with their father, Tammy and Andy question what happened to their mother. Don lies, claiming that Alice was killed by the infected during the attack on the cottage. The children accept his explanation, but remain haunted by her memory. That night, Andy dreams of his mother's face disintegrating, a vivid manifestation of his fear of forgetting her. The following morning, Tammy persuades him to sneak out of District 1 to retrieve a photograph of Alice from their old home. Stealing a motorbike, the siblings navigate the desolate ruins of London. At their family home, they collect keepsakes, including a treasured photograph of Alice. During their search, Andy stumbles upon a shocking discovery. Alice is alive, hiding in the house. She is physically weakened and mentally scarred but alive. Before they can process the reunion, the military arrives to retrieve the siblings. Alice is detained and separated from her children. The 3 are taken back to District 1, setting the stage for new dangers to unfold within the supposedly secure zone. During Alice's medical examination, Scarlett prepares for a blood test while questioning how Alice managed to survive alone in the post-outbreak countryside. As she examines Alice's arm, Scarlett notices an old bite scar, raising fears that Alice may be infected. Meanwhile, Don visits the detained Tammy and Andy, intending to take them home. However, the children are furious with him for lying about their mother's fate and demand the truth. Overcome with guilt for abandoning Alice, Don leaves and slips past military security to see her in the isolation room. As Don reunites with Alice, Scarlett completes her tests and discovers that Alice's blood reveals a genetic abnormality, granting her immunity to the symptoms of the rage virus. However, Alice remains an asymptomatic carrier, capable of infecting others. Scarlett argues that Alice's immunity could hold the key to a cure and insists on keeping her alive for further study. but Stone, fearing another outbreak, orders Alice's execution. In the isolation room, Dawn begs for Alice's forgiveness, which she seemingly grants. Overcome with emotion, they kiss. Unbeknownst to Dawn, Alice's saliva carries the virus, and the contact infects him. Dawn succumbs instantly to the rage virus, brutally killing Alice in a fit of violence before escaping into District 1. He rampages through the compound, attacking and infecting civilians and soldiers alike. The spread of infection plunges District 1 into chaos. Stone and the generals retreat to a fortified bunker, initiating a lockdown under Code Red. The compound's power cuts out as the virus spreads uncontrollably. Scarlet prioritizes Tammy and Andy's safety, retrieving them from detainment to evacuate them. However, Andy becomes separated from Scarlet and Tammy during the commotion, and is herded with civilians into a garage-safe room. The infected Dawn finds his way into the garage, causing a catastrophic outbreak. Andy watches in horror as Dawn attacks civilians, triggering a chain reaction of infection. In the ensuing chaos, the civilians break out of the garage, fleeing into the streets while the infection spreads rapidly. Andy escapes through the ventilation system. The military attempts to contain the outbreak, with rooftop snipers ordered to target infected individuals. However, as the chaos escalates and it becomes nearly impossible to distinguish between infected and uninfected, the snipers are ordered to kill indiscriminately. Among them, Doyle defies the kill-all order and deserts his post to help survivors, including Andy, Tammy, Scarlet, and a few others who have taken refuge in a warehouse. Doyle leads the group through the devastated streets toward the perimeter of District 1. The group faces sniper fire and the constant threat of infected attacks, resulting in the loss of several survivors. As the air cavalry arrives to firebomb the area, Doyle, Scarlet, Tammy, Andy, and one remaining survivor, Sam, escape over the perimeter just before the green zone is incinerated. Stone and the generals, watching from their bunker, observe that many infected have survived the bombing and are spreading into London. As dawn breaks, the group travels through the deserted city, heading toward Regent's Park to rendezvous with Flynn, Doyle's contact for an airlift. Along the way, Scarlet speculates that Tammy and Andy may have inherited Alice's immunity, a vital clue for combating the virus. Reflecting on recent events, Tammy confides in Andy that this time, she believes their mother is truly gone. Flynn warns Doyle via radio about the infected loose in London. As Doyle, Scarlet, Andy, and Tammy reach Regent's Park, a massive horde of infected arrives just as Flynn lands his helicopter. Flynn refuses to take the civilians to safety, especially when Doyle suggests crossing the English Channel to Europe. The situation escalates when the infected attack, forcing Flynn to leave after Sam panics and grabs onto the helicopter. Flynn mows down many infected with the rotor blades before departing. Doyle, Scarlet, Andy, and Tammy retreat into the city, as the remaining infected pursue them. Flynn radios Doyle, instructing him to meet at Wembley Stadium. But the group is forced to take shelter in a van when the military begins pumping nerve gas into London to kill the infected. The gas wipes out the infected nearby, but as soldiers with flamethrowers approach, Doyle exits the van to jumpstart it. Tragically, he is incinerated by the soldiers, who mistake him for a threat. Scarlet drives Tammy and Andy through London, avoiding the military. An airstrike forces them to abandon the van and flee into the underground. Using Doyle's rifle with a night vision scope, Scarlet guides Tammy and Andy through the dark tunnels. The group becomes separated when the siblings fall down an escalator. Scarlet reunites with Tammy, but moments later, she is attacked and killed by an infected. Tammy discovers Scarlet's body and presses on. Elsewhere in the underground, Andy encounters the infected who killed Scarlet and is bitten. Tammy arrives just in time to see the infected bite Andy, and she realizes with horror that it's Dawn. Dawn then attacks Tammy, forcing her to shoot and kill him. Andy, bitten but not overcome by the virus, flees into a tunnel with Tammy in pursuit. Tammy notices Andy's left eye turning bloodshot, just like Alice's, confirming he has inherited their mother's immunity, and is now a carrier of the rage virus. The siblings make their way to Wembley Stadium, where Flynn is waiting. Upon learning that Doyle is dead, Flynn reluctantly agrees to airlift Tammy and Andy out of Britain, fulfilling Doyle's request. They cross the channel to mainland Europe in Flynn's helicopter. 28 days later, Flynn's helicopter is found abandoned in France, with someone calling for help over its radio. In Paris, a horde of infected emerges from a metro station and rushes toward the Eiffel Tower, revealing that the rage virus has now spread to mainland Europe. What would you do if you were the key to stopping a deadly virus outbreak, but risked infecting everyone around you? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more thrilling movie recaps. See you next time.